Project Radiant is the series where I attempt to take my account for the first time ever into Radiant. If this is the first time you heard of me, I'm Dimos. I've made a previous video where I introduced this series that I'm making. The video is called I Quit My Job to Get Radiant. If that interests you, you should watch it after this. It's gonna give you some context as to what exactly I'm doing and what you can expect coming up. But today I'm not in game, today I'm on Valorant Tracker. And the reason for that is because before I even jump into the game, I want to have an idea as to what I should be improving, so I can keep an eye out and not just play for the sake of playing the game. Now, I'm gonna be honest, Valorant Tracker is a tool I'm a bit on the fence about, because in some ways it's really useful, but in some ways people just think it's this holy grail of information and it's the fucking gospel. And I just don't agree with that. I think that most people, whenever they use this tool and whenever they look at the stats, they just don't use it in the context that they're supposed to. What I mean by that. And this is the key piece of information from this video that you should be taking away, if nothing else, and is the fact that none of this matters if you do not put it in context of your own gameplay. For example, you can have a negative KD ratio, but a negative KD ratio can be for multiple reasons. It can be that you don't value your own life, or it can be that you are extremely passive and the fights you take are just maybe at a disadvantage somehow. For example, these two scenarios, they're completely different, but you won't know exactly how to fix them if you just look at the KD ratio. So you need to make some parallels to the gameplay. Before we get into that, because you do require some information then in order to use this tool properly. Information which you would get realistically in two different ways. You would get either by VOD reviewing yourself, which is a thing that most people should be doing. I am not doing it because I'm a lazy fuck. But then there is a second option, which is something that I always do, and it's every single time I die in game, I try to criticize it. But by criticize it, I try to understand why it happened and what went wrong. Just by doing that, it's gonna give you a really good opinion and idea of what exactly are the reasons that you are dying. But maybe even more important than that, and this is where Tracker comes in, you can also be biased whenever you die in game because emotions run high. This tool can give you some insight as to, was I right in assessing that I'm dying because I am bad at aiming, or maybe I was using the wrong gun. That could be one of the reasons. But basically, the way you make parallels to the gameplay make or break what you really understand from using something like Valorant Tracker. So, okay, yapping aside, there are some things that you can tell if you can improve or you should improve or not just from Valorant Tracker without even understanding your own gameplay. Some of the things are playtime. Especially the higher you go in ELO, the more you need to play, but things like 8.7 hours is not good in any ELO whatsoever. Here is what you need to understand by playtime. The more you play, the more consistent your numbers will be. And what I mean by that is that from one game to another, you can have a lot of variance in what happens in a game. One time you can have a shit team. One time you can be shit. Another time everyone is playing perfectly. This is all like random bullshit that happens in solo queue. The more you play, the more everything just sort of evens out as stats go. So ideally, everyone would be playing 170 hours every single act. You probably didn't get unlucky, you know, like playing so many hours, I probably wasn't unlucky that I was in Ascendant 3 hard stuck, you know what I mean? You're not gonna get terrible teams for 150 games. That's just not the case. It's just never gonna happen unless someone just has it in for you. I don't know. The first thing that we can conclude from this is that I did not play enough this act on this account. The second thing that we can look at is maps performance, because while here you can get unlucky, especially because the pool of matches played is going to be lower per map than the entire thing, obviously, there are still some things we can understand from them. So for example, looking at my maps, there are a lot of maps that are under 50%. I'm not going to look at Pearl, Sunset or Haven and say that I have a problem on these maps and I should not work on them, or I should work on them. This is just like, it's not enough games. However, I can look at my terrible fucking Lotus and say something is going wrong because I am losing a lot of games despite me having the best stats by far on this map. So like, what's going wrong? So probably next time that I'm gonna be in Lotus, I'm gonna try and pay attention and see if I have enough impact, because clearly maybe my kills are just not good enough. Maybe my impact is struggling. Maybe I don't know how to play the map at a certain point. I will keep this in mind, and I will probably watch some gameplay of Lotus of someone that is much better than me and see how they're handling the map. And this we can just tell from looking at Tracker without even understanding my own game. gameplay. Because if you would ask me, I would say, man, Lotus is not that bad for me, because I have some of my best games are probably on Lotus, but clearly something is going wrong. If you don't have enough playtime, and this is a trick you can use, if you don't have enough playtime on a specific act, on a specific map, you can look at the different acts as well. If I look at the different acts for me, for example, last act on Lotus, it wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible. You can put this up to randomness, having a negative win rate here. And then act 1 somehow, yeah, I'm not gonna, so for me, it doesn't tell me anything else, but for you, it might. For me, it especially doesn't tell me much, because this, for example, is an act where I was trying to learn Tejo, and you know, let's just say my Tejo is not very good. And also in my second act, I was learning a lot of ISO. So for you, it's probably a bit more consistent. For me, these past 2-3 acts have been all about experimenting. And then the third thing that we can look at and just notice it by itself are the weapons that you're using. You don't even need to understand your own gameplay to see that maybe you're not using the right weapons. And what I mean by that, I use Vandal and Phantom, and then Stinger is my third weapon. Those are my most played weapons. Now, generally, you want to kind of focus on one weapon. I think most people like the Vandal. I think the Phantom is really useful sometimes. I sometimes have a Vandal day, sometimes have a Phantom day. Is this ideal? Probably not. I just go by vibes. However, if you want to min-max it, you should probably focus on one gun, and probably should be the Vandal. But there are a lot of weapons that have different roles in the game, and if you don't use them, you are wasting opportunities. Here is the big one that I wanna highlight, and it's the Outlaw. I don't know how the meta is at lower ranks, but in higher ranks there is a meta that if you lose pistol round, next round most people will buy a Sheriff. Here is what that entails. First things first, if you want the pistol, second round you should probably go a light shield and an Outlaw for some free kills and easy round. Legit, it just wins you the round. But because they buy Sheriffs in the second round, if they don't win that round, most of them will have a light shield going into their buy round. And Outlaw can just straight up just win you a buy round just like that, just by itself, because it's a one tap to the body. I think right now it's an Outlaw meta, and the fact that I'm not using it, kind of, it's wasted opportunity. Another gun that I'm not using enough is the Operator. Straight up, I don't think it even matters the agent you play. You should just use up the Operator as much as possible. People are scared of the Operator, and maybe I'm projecting because I am scared of it myself, because it's 4,700 credits, and if you're not good enough with it, it's a bad investment. If you don't want to buy it, just pick it off the ground. You're on defense, you're fucking Sova, just pick it off the ground, use it the next round, see how it goes, try your best, you know? Even if you get one kill, that's still better than nothing. So we need to play Outlaw and we need to play Operator. There are some other guns that if you have a preference for them, you should play them, such as Marshall or Bucky. I think Bucky is a good weapon. Bucky and Marshall are like situational. If you don't use it, I would definitely recommend you Stinger. Shorty, maybe. The Shorty just doesn't treat me well. I don't know why. I can't kill people with a Shorty. They just always survive with like 10 HP. It's impossible for me. But if you can make it work, then you know what? It's the best investment. It's literally the best investment for an eco, probably. If you're like a smoker especially, oh, that's incredible. With a Noman, it's just free kills all the time. So I'd say these are the three things that you can understand from Valorant Tracker without looking at your gameplay and your habits in game. There is a stat on this page that people think it's really important, and it's really not, and it's headshot percentage. And I'll tell you why. Because headshot percentage in general is really important, just not this one. Let me give you an example. Mr. Zachary Zekin Patron. He has a headshot percentage of 26.5%. I have a headshot percentage of 22.7%. If you don't know any better, you might look at this and you're like, man, you're pretty fucking close. What is this? Like you're like there. You might as well just be in Radiant. He's top 2. So I might as well just be in Radiant, right? Just off that? Nah. So here's the deal. This headshot percentage stat, if you didn't understand yet or you didn't know about this is your overall headshot percentage stat. Depending on the weapons that you play, the overall headshot percentage stat is going to be lower, because if you play Outlaw, if you play Operator, if you play shotguns, if you play Stingers, these are all guns that don't require you to hit the head, and so using these guns, you're incentivized to not be hitting the head. It would take down your overall headshot percentage just by using those guns. And so what we need to look at instead, we need to look at our main weapons. So for example, the Vandal headshot percentage is it's 35%. My Vandal headshot percentage is not terrible, but here is where we can see a difference between me and Zagan. His headshot percentage is 43% on Vandal, 35, 43. That's almost 10% more than that nets you so many more kills. And so what we learn from this is that I do need to improve my headshot percentage with these guns, with Vandal and Phantom. With Phantom, I think it can be more difficult because it's a gun that you spam smokes more and you're gonna kill people just like that, so it's gonna take down your headshot percentage. But Vandal is a really good descriptor of how good is your aim. For my case specifically, and this is where linking back to your gameplay is obvious, I feel like my aim has gotten worse. And I don't think it's necessarily me clicking heads, but I feel like it's more about my movement. Let me tell you why. V25 Act 1, my Vandal was 42.5 in 1400 kills, which is not bad. It's almost as good as Zekans, right? My aim is not same as Zekans, but the percentage is there. But if you look at the other acts, for example, Act 2 is 37% from 43, and then you look at the present one and we showed it, it's 34%. So it kept getting lower, and I think it keeps getting lower because I'm just letting go of my movement, and I find myself in a game after I die, I'm like, where are my bullets going? Like, why am I pushing my keyboard when I'm not supposed to be pushing my keyboard? So I think I need to work on movement or crosshair placement based on this and based on my experience in game. I don't DM enough, and my aim training routine is not a thing. So I think maybe I'll need to improve how many DMs I do. I think DMs might be the call on how to fix this. What else I want to look at is agent and agent pool. For myself, for the past 3 acts, I've explored a bit. This act I played a lot of agents, and the reason I played a lot of agents is because I did a video in which I let a wheel pick my agent at random. There was a reason for that, and I will tell you a reason why, but basically I do need to improve my agent pool. And if you are like me and you played 1 or 2 agents for like most of the time, which is me on Raze, you might have a hard time finding another agent that fits your playstyle, and so you might need to force yourself out of your comfort zone. But a video on agent pool will be the next video in this series, because I need around 4 to 5 agents, I'd say, to feel confident in the agent pool that I have. So ideally when it comes to agent pool, you have 1 or 2, and I was always saying that 1 or 2 are the best, but I think I'm right now in a position where I've gotten way too comfortable in the role that I was doing and playing, because I was playing mostly Raze, and maybe like whenever Clove came out I was trying to play smokes as well, and I think it kind of helped me learn a bit more of the game just by playing a different role. So I think right now, in order to get out of this hard stuck position that I'm in, I need to try and get myself out of the comfort zone and autopiloting, get myself on new roles and new agents, and try to think about the game more actively rather than just doing the things that I know I am doing because they might be wrong. Some other things we can look at, and we can look at some details. The menu where you can see most of the details is right here, but you can basically see all the numbers in this side. And one important thing that you can see in this detailed menu is clutch percentage. My clutch percentage is 2.1%. That is not high. That just means that 97.9% I don't clutch. Now, you're never gonna have a high clutch percentage. It's never gonna be the case that you can clutch like 20% of the rounds or some shit. That would be ridiculous. You're the GOAT if you do that, because a lot of rounds are just unwinnable. However, this is where I can draw parallel to my gameplay and to my own mental, and what I notice is that a lot of times when I'm left in retakes or clash situations, I'm like, okay, well, if they play this perfectly, this is unwinnable. And so I go into the round and into the clutch thinking this is unwinnable, this is a Hail Mary. But here is the problem: people in rank don't play fucking perfectly. They will make unlosable rounds losable. They will do it. They will manage it. They will pick you one by one and whiff, and it will happen and you'll be able to win. But if you go into the round with the mental that you don't, then you're just not gonna manage it. You're just gonna throw away the round. You're not gonna think about it. You're not gonna think of it. You're not gonna give yourself the chance to do it. For me, what this speaks about more is not necessarily the technique or the gameplay that I have during clutches, but I think it's my mental during them. I think it's just that I give up before I even do anything. So for myself, I know I need to think about my mental during those clutch and retake scenarios, but here is where gameplay is really important, because I think that my gameplay during clutches is not terrible, but maybe you, whenever you're in a clutch situation, you're like, man, that was winnable, but I did not use this piece of util, or I just whiffed on that target. This is where, if you don't draw that parallel to your gameplay, you should not draw this conclusion. Make sure that you play your retakes well. Like when you get into a retake, if you die, think about about why. Did you have some piece of util that could have made things easier or not? Or did he outsmart you? Why? What happened? Like, you should not draw the same conclusion that I do from the same number that you will see in your own tracker. You need to customize it to your own gameplay. And since we were talking a bit about KD ratio, again, this KD ratio I'd say it's a bit more useful, the general KD ratio, than it is the headshot percentage stat. This is the same KD ratio, but it's split across the different amount of credits that you spend in a round. So what can we tell from this for my own account? On full buys, I'm at my best, seems like, at my full buys. I'm not great, but I'm at my best. And it seems like the less money I spend, the less I value my life, outside of pistol rounds. But pistol rounds don't really count because you're on the same leveling field, you know? Like, for example, if I'm in an eco round, it means that they probably have they probably have guns and I don't, and my mental will be different than it will be in a pistol where like, okay, we're all on ghosts here, or classic pistols, you know? And so it seems like I give up the less credits we do, and I go maybe for more hermetic kills. And this again, we can make the same parallel as to if I'm in a semi or if I'm in an eco, chances are the game is not going as well as it should be. So then I take it upon myself to try and do things that are maybe unorthodox, or simply I just fucking give up. Like, I don't intentionally give up. My mental is just, it's somewhere else, it's out the fucking door. And so I think what I need to understand from this is that I need to value my life more, even in the rounds that I don't spend the full amount of money that I should be. Because that is a bit of a problem that I have in general. I've never had a positive KD. If we look at all the acts, there are 4 acts in which I've had a positive KD. 4 of them. 2 of them were the first 2 when I was still finding my rank. So I've never really had a good KD. I think for me, I've not really had a good KDs because I don't really value my life much, because I come from being a duelist, and especially in the beginning, because people did not use their util properly, or me following the util properly. It's like you give away your life for free, but someone else behind you will trade you and then take the site. So then it's still kind of worth it. That's why I also managed to climb to Immortal like so early without having a good KDs, because it would still do the job despite it not being good. Now, the Valorant community evolved, man. The Valorant community evolved. They're much better. Things like that don't really work as much. And then they just aim you down. And so I need to figure out how I should be valuing my life more and be more conscientious during those rounds, the same as in the ecos. Try to trade myself for a kill, and I think it would give us a better chance of winning the rounds. I mean, here is where, like, okay, wait a second, and look at this fucking guy. How do you do this? Like, how this man, he's a legend. He's him. Even in an eco, he's 1.1. This man finds at least 1 kill every single time. Yeah, that's insane. I want to be careful when I say things like baiting. This is where a tool like Tracker is terrible, because it does push you to bait your team more. But when I'm saying bait, I'm not trying to make the obvious case of throwing the fucking round so that I can get a couple of kills. There are times when baiting is necessary and baiting is good for the round. What I'm trying to say here is that I'm aware that I'm never conscientious of the fact that I should be baiting. And even if I'm not playing like a Raze or like another duelist, I'm still not gonna find myself in positions where I'm baiting my teammates. And that is just not good, because there are times when it's useful. There are times when you should be baiting your teammates. If you're a fucking Sova with your drone up and with your recon, you should not be peeking first. You know what I mean? Or you shouldn't be doing the jump spotting. And the one more thing that we can find here, and I think this is what I'm gonna end up with, it's seeing how you do an attack as opposed to defense. Because this tool can tell you how many rounds you're winning on attack and how many rounds you're winning on defense, and other things like average combat score. For example, my average combat score is pretty similar between attack and defense, but my rounds won are pretty different. I have almost 54% on defense and obviously 47.6% on attack. Seems that I'm not doing as well on attack as I'm doing on defense. Defense is more individually oriented than attack. On attack, you need to have a pretty good team and pretty good glue between your teammates to use your util properly to enter a site. If your team is not coordinated enough to deal with the enemy's team's individual skill, it can be a tough thing it can be a tough nut to crack. And I'm pretty aware of that. I'm pretty aware that on defense, your individual skill is more important than on attack. It's obviously important on both, but on a site, if you're holding a site, chances are the only thing you might need is like a smoke or some shit. But then all you're left with is your util and your own aim, and that can be liberating. But if, for example, you're a duelist and your Sova doesn't dart at the right time, or you don't get a flash in, you're just gonna die. You're just gonna die. You're not gonna make it. And here is the problem. Just looking at the stats, it doesn't tell us why I'm actually losing more on attack. My guess is that part of it is mental, because if we start a map on attack and then we go like 4 rounds and I see that my Sova is probably filling in and my Sky doesn't know how to flash, I'm gonna be like, oh fuck, it's one of those games. Oh fuck, it's one of those again. I think that I probably need a bit more awareness in game whenever it comes to those attack sides. Try to work off my team what we're lacking. Like if I cannot ask for a piece of util or for a good execute, then maybe we just gotta rethink the way we do things. Maybe we can hit a different side, maybe we can hit mid, maybe we can default a bit more, maybe we can have some lurks. If I can communicate these things, I should be present in the moment to do it, and then if I don't, I have to find out a way to work around it. Most likely I've got to pay more attention to things like how the enemies are set up, or what are some of the issues in their team. Can we pick off some of their players? Well, I think it does not give us the answer of how to improve on my attack side. I think it does tell me that I need to be more present during the rounds, and possibly I need to watch out my mental, because chances are if I see like 4 or 5 rounds in that my team still doesn't know how to execute a site, or how to use their util at the right time, or how to trade or shit like that, I do find myself just logging out of the game and just being like, ah, fuck, okay, it's one of those again, dude. Well, let's just wait for defense. You know what I mean? This is where it's like, I don't want to draw any conclusion outside of what we've already discussed here. This is the perfect example of why Valorant Tracker is good, but it's not as good as people think it is. I don't feel like it gives me any more information than this at this point in time when it comes to attack versus defense. It's a really good stat to be aware of. Understanding that you are doing better on one half than another can wake you up, can be like, okay, next time I get into an attack side, I'm like, okay, let's see, how many rounds do we lose, how many rounds do we win, and why? Like, okay, why did we lose this round? Was it the fact that we did not know how to attack? Is it my fucking aim? Is it my position? Is it the fights that I'm taking? Am I too aggressive? Am I too passive? Like, what's happening? But at least I can be aware that I'm doing worse during those halves, and I can try to improve them, which you wouldn't really get just by playing the game. So that is where I give Valorant Tracker the upper hand. But I think this is as much as I'm comfortable with taking away from this tracker review that I've done on myself. These are very actionable things that I can do. I hope this will give you some answers as to how to use this tool. I understand it's not very satisfying. I'm not coming in here telling you, hey, this one stat can give you all of the answers to your gameplay, because nothing is that easy. Nothing is that easy, and I think that is the problem that people have with a tracker like this. People will come in here and it's like, okay, this is very simple. I'm looking at this. As long as I fix this, then my gameplay is going to be perfect. And it never works like that. I've seen plenty of really good trackers that are having negative win rates. And then it's like, well, how? Well, it's because you're trying to fix your stats, not your gameplay. This is the perfect example. You want to fix your KD, then start fucking baiting everywhere. But it's not going to win you games. It's just going to give you a better KD. And that's simple as that. While the video is not very satisfying, I hope that you learned something from it. And probably the most important thing that you should be taking out of this video is that you should take the stats with a grain of salt, and you should use them to try and confirm your observations in game rather than try to make new ones. That's it. If you take that from this video, then I'm satisfied. So that's it for me. Bye bye.